Welcome, I'm Faith. I'm an assistant language teacher living in Japan, and in this episode, we're going to revisit how I ended up in this apartment. I'll give you an apartment tour and discuss some of the things that I bought and why I bought them. And then I'll talk about how I feel about my apartment now, after living here for 2 years. Way back, over 2 years ago, I got my placement for the JET program. Honestly, my apartment was one of the last things on my mind. I was kind of thinking like, well, I'm not gonna live nowhere, so I was already stressed out about other things, and where I was gonna live kind of became small potatoes. However, I did still try to give it a shot to look up potential places that I could live. It was my hope to have my apartment picked out before I came to Japan so that maybe I might be able to move in sooner than having to stay in a hotel for like a week. Originally, when I was looking for apartments, my main deal breaker was having an apartment on the first floor. I would accept any other floor that was not the first floor. That's because I hear bugs are more likely to enter first floor apartments than they are upper floors. The higher you go, the less likely you'll see bugs. I also made a list of the things that I wanted in an apartment. So I really wanted a 1-bedroom with an extra living area, so like a living room, and a kitchen. It was okay with me if the dining area was connected to the kitchen. The perfect dream apartment would have had an extra room like for an office. Also, one of the bathtubs that's like futuristic where like you can program the bath temperature on like the wall outside of the bathroom, like in the living room or something, and the bathtub just fills up by itself and holds the temperature by itself, and that would have been the dream. That's not what I got. I did try looking at apartments when I was back in the States, but that was actually kind of hard. Different realtor companies have different listings. There is no like mass listing of available apartments in Japan or in Ibaraki, like in the prefecture that you're going to be moving to. You have to look at the specific realtor site to find something. And of course, I didn't know the realtors that were going to be available. But I did my best to check out a couple things that I could find, and there was one apartment that I just absolutely fell in love with. I was in contact with my supervisor at my school. She contacted the realtor, and unfortunately she sent me back something about how, I don't really remember the response, but basically the realtor was like, no. That kind of like crushed my dreams in finding an apartment, and I was just like, you know what? It'll all work itself out in the end. So I just kind of put an apartment on the back burner. When I got to Japan and after orientation in Tokyo and I arrived in my prefecture, it was probably like within the first 2 or 3 days that I started looking at apartments with my supervisor. We toured 3 apartments. After the first 2 apartments, my hopes and dreams for getting the perfect apartment deflated significantly, because with my price range and in my city, basically the apartments that I could afford were built in like the 60s or 70s or 80s. And while they had withstood the test of time, they weren't unscathed by that time. And it just made me, I don't know, like sad that I wasn't gonna have the like super nice, almost futuristic apartment that I was hoping for. Something that like you would find in Tokyo. So by the time we looked at the 3rd apartment on another day, I had a lot of things on my mind. Every night I was not in an apartment, I was spending money on a hotel, and I really wanted that money to help furnish my apartment and have a little nest egg for like traveling and stuff, is what I thought back then. So then by the time we toured the 3rd apartment, I kind of just settled. I looked around and I was like, you know what? This has almost nothing on my wants list, but we're gonna go with it, and I settled. What it did have on my wants list was a lot of natural light, because the back wall is basically big sliding glass doors. It was not on the first floor, and the toilet had a bidet. And though it was a studio apartment, part of me was kind of like romanticizing. It felt cute and novel when I first moved in to have a little studio apartment in Japan. Also, the proximity of my apartment to my school was something that I liked. So I decided to sign my lease at this apartment. I think I had to stay in a hotel for like 3 more nights while they prepared the apartment for me. I guess it was like paperwork, and then I moved in. So now let me give you a tour of my apartment, and then we'll talk about how I feel about my apartment now. Okay, so when you first enter an apartment, the first place you see is the entryway. In Japanese, that's called the genkan, and it's where you take your shoes off. So I put my shoes in the only piece of furniture that came with my apartment, this shoe cabinet. So my shoes, and then on the other side, I have my emergency bag and my umbrella. The emergency evacuation bag is for just in case there's a serious earthquake or a tsunami and I have to leave. Like, evacuate quickly. The shelf that I have right here used to be in my pantry, but it was a little small and I ended up getting a new one. However, I don't really have much to decorate it with. I bought some lettuce from the grocery store that had its roots still attached, like you were supposed to grow it or keep it or whatever, and I did until I didn't, and now I have this planter left over until I throw it away, which is, I don't know when, so for now it just holds all of my recycling until the once a month recycling day. So if we hop up from the genkan, the door to my left is my bathroom. It has a vent switch and of course the light switch. My bathroom. So first you have the vanity, and technically you're supposed to be able to store your like toothbrushes in here, but like that looks like a nightmare to clean, so I absolutely don't. This light is a heater to defrost the mirror after you shower. This is just the light to the light bulbs up at the top of the vanity. I only use them when I pluck my eyebrows, and I haven't done that in a long time. And then there's an outlet. I got this easy to clean toothbrush holder from a 100 yen shop. I actually got quite a few small things from a 100 yen shop. It's basically a dollar store. Like these hooks, you'll see a lot of them in my apartment. Highly recommend. The hooks help you store things vertically, and when you don't have a lot of space, vertical storage is very important. I have an over-the-toilet rack and some baskets. They came from Amazon. In fact, probably 90% of the stuff that I have came from Amazon. So if it didn't come from Amazon, I'll make a note of that. Otherwise, just assume that's where I got it. So like these baskets, you can find something comparable at a 100 yen shop, and I highly recommend that because these were kind of expensive for what they are. And then over here is my washer and towels and laundry stuff. My washer came from a place called Kei's Denki. This container and this little spout bottle came from a 100 yen shop. So if you've ever wanted to have like a perfectly curated container situation, Japan is here for you. You can get a lot of containers and matching containers from the 100 yen shops. And the shelf that you see right here used to be in my room, but it's kind of too wobbly for me. And I had my tea kettle, my electric tea kettle, up on the top, and that made me nervous. I did not want that to fall, ever. I don't just love it here in this corner, but like a year ago when I moved it in here, I didn't know how to throw it away and I really wanted to throw it away. It came to live in my bathroom and I don't hate its position here. I also don't really love it either. Next, let's check out my shower. So this is my shower. It's kind of biggish here, and my tub is small, but it's deep, so I can fit all the way in it. The little shelves here are magnetic, and for the longest time I didn't know that my shower was magnetic, but it is, and I absolutely love that I can use these magnetic shelves in here. They just make everything so much more tidy. So when we leave my bathroom, right across is the kitchen area. My kitchen didn't come with any of the vertical storage that you see here, but I think it was one of the best purchases that I made for my kitchen because there's like no space. Where else was I going to store all of my stuff? I have one burner. The shelving is kind of like a lifesaver because it allowed me to have more room to store my dishes, which by the way were gifted. I didn't actually buy any of my dishes. So with some of my Tupperware, that was also gifted. Then we have some cabinets. It's very full of food. I cook a lot of things from scratch because I still really like American food. I love these little spice racks. I did kind of just stick them on the door and they've never fallen off. Okay, so next we have my oven microwave and my fridge. So both my oven microwave and my fridge came from K's Denki. And K's Denki is like an appliance shop. I feel like it's reminiscent or similar to like Sears or like Best Buy, minus all the like dark lighting. So after my kitchen, we have my first closet, and I have turned it into a pantry. I store extra supplies in here, like extra cleaning supplies. And then I also have my recyclable cardboard, which I can take out once a month during my neighborhood's monthly like big recycling, or I can take it to like a grocery store or something. I'm just kind of lazy, so I haven't done that. So we just wait a whole month with it. Also, you'll notice this wallpaper is a partially done project. I got tired of putting it on there, so like if you just don't look at the ugly sides, it's actually pretty cute. So after the whole hallway and closet thing, we have my room. Yay. So I'm using the 0.5 so that you can see more of my room at a time, but the truth is it's actually pretty small. I would like to note that I am filming this at night, so even though my back wall is basically a window because they're sliding glass doors that lead out to my balcony, it's nighttime, so you wouldn't be able to see anything anyway. So the color scheme that I decided to work with for my room is mostly white and light wood colored furniture with accents of pink and blue. I chose a light color scheme because my space is so small. I didn't want dark colors, making the space look even smaller. You'll also notice that my desk and shelves are like open back, and that's because I want my space to be open. I didn't want my shelving to make it look smaller. So over here is I could totally put that away if I didn't have any cardboard. Anyway, over here is my closet. So this shelf over here is my relatively new shelf. I got it because I needed more space to store more things. If you watch one of my December videos, I think it's the first one that I made after moving to Japan. Like, not the first video I made, but the first video about December after moving to Japan. You'll see I got the first metal shelf back then to help organize stuff. My bed is a twin size bed. So I have a couple tips for small apartment living. One of them is to use as much vertical space as you can. Use open face furniture so that things don't feel claustrophobic and like really smashed in there. You have light colored walls, and you probably do if you're moving to Japan. Try to pick light colors. You don't have to be like quasi-sad beige like I am, but lighter colors will make your space look bigger. Okay, let's get back to the chair and talk about how I feel about my apartment now after living here for 2 years. Okay. Alright. So I knew when I was moving here I was not going to find an Oklahoma base size apartment. So even though it was small, I thought it would be okay because I thought I wouldn't be spending a ton of time in my apartment anyway. Like, I thought I would be off doing cultural activities, or just going to cafes and walking around, or traveling. So it didn't feel like a big deal to me at the time that my apartment was so small. However, while the smallness didn't bother me for the first year or so I was here, lately it's actually been kind of suffocating. That and my neighbor. My neighbor, who I unaffectionately call Vacuum Lady because she slams her vacuum up against our paper-thin walls every time she thinks I'm speaking too loud or just living too loud. Anyway, I still like the natural light that my apartment gets, and I still like the proximity my apartment is from my school. And since making some wall decor, I also like my apartment a little bit better than I was. However, it's still not enough to make me love it anymore. If moving costs didn't cost so much here, I would be looking for other options. If you're moving anywhere, not just Japan, but also Japan, I encourage you to stick to your guns about your wants and needs list. While I feel like I did still keep my wants and needs list in mind, I think I thought about it more with rose-colored glasses on. And now, here we are. If you're planning to move or redecorate, I hope my video gave you some ideas or some inspiration on what you can do or where you can buy some stuff. Now it's summer, and even though I detest summer, I did actually go out and do some activities. So in one of my coming up videos, I will share with you what I did, and I hope you'll stick around to watch it. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, bye!